Kevin Durant is entering year 18 in the NBA, and at this point, most people know who Kevin Durant is and what he can do on the court. So on today's season previews for day 15, we're going to focus more so on how Phoenix can utilize him and how Mike Budenholzer's offense can maximize him. It sounds crazy to say this about a guy who just turned 36 years old, but the Suns might be able to get even more out of Kevin Durant, who just averaged a 27.75 stat line on 52-41-86 shooting splits last year. Durant is playing at levels we haven't seen out of any player in NBA history at that stage of their careers outside of LeBron James, and that prompted an interesting comment from James Jones during exit interviews.
That's a constant focus for us, is to continue to figure out how to maximize Kevin Durant. No one's done it yet. I believe we'll be the first team to do it because if we can maximize him, we can maximize our entire roster. We're a better team. But that's not an issue. What we may view as being like awesome, Kevin thinks isn't good enough because he wants to be great. That's why he's a Hall of Famer.
The Golden State Warriors might have something to say about that, but the point still stands that the Suns feel like they can utilize Kevin Durant better than they did last season. And part of that plays into Mike Budenholzer's approach of wanting to take more threes. Durant is one of the purest scorers in NBA history, not just because of his combination of shooting, handles, length, and ability to score from all three levels of the court, but also because he puts in the reps to hit impossible shots like the defense isn't even there. That is most apparent in one of the most aesthetically pleasing parts of his game, which is his ability to get buckets in the mid-range. Durant is unstoppable one-on-one, getting to his favorite spots with unblockable turnarounds, nifty crossovers, dangerous hesitation moves, or just plain elevating over the defender in front of him. Even when opponents send help defenders or double teams on his post-ups or isolations, Durant can still create separation and knock down the types of shots that just make the other team shake their heads in disbelief. Having one of the best shot makers in the league helps in a playoff setting when defenses tighten up and sometimes you just need a bucket. For 99% of the league, when Kevin Durant gets you matched up one-on-one, even on a good contest against a sizable defender, he's gonna make you feel about this big. But as you can see, the degree of difficulty on some of these shots is obscene. It's part of what makes Kevin Durant so special and part of where the Suns can make his life a little easier. Game winners like this double clutch shot against the Chicago Bulls are fun and unbelievable shots, but putting the onus on KD to hit all these tough contested twos, even if he can make them, shouldn't be the primary goal. According to Cleaning the Glass, Durant ranked in the 100th percentile in frequency of long mid-range shots and the 98th percentile in frequency of all mid-range shots. Sure, he was elite in knocking them down. And yes, he placed in the 94th percentile in points over expectation. But the Suns could probably do better than Durant ranking in the 3rd percentile in shot quality. Even in this modern NBA where threes and shots at the rim are king, a Durant mid-range jumper is still one of the most efficient shots in the entire sport. But Mike Budenholzer's offense could make his life a lot easier and the Suns' offense a lot more dangerous if they can convince KD to turn one or two of those middies a night into three-point attempts. Durant understands the league is veering towards taking more and more threes, but for him, it's all about taking what the defense gives him.
Yeah, I'm a three-point shooter. That's been my role when I first came into the league. I think I just evolved my game to put pressure on the defense and if it's an opportunity for me to shoot a lot of threes that night, I will. But if teams are up into my body and they want me to drive the basketball and be more aggressive to the rim and get free throws or get to my mid range, I'll do that too. So I try to play the game, try to do what the defense is dictating. I try to play off the defense a bit. I'm not just shoot mid range out of spite, to piss people off. I want to do what it takes to win the game, and sometimes. I got to put my head down and be aggressive to go to the rim.
So far, though, the Suns are getting up 46 threes a game in preseason, and Durant went from 7 3-point attempts per 100 possessions last year to 11.3 so far in preseason. And yeah, we know it's preseason, but Durant already has a knack for hitting tough threes no matter the contest. Getting him easier catch-and-shoot looks would be a godsend. KD drilled 44% of his catch-and-shoot threes and 53% of his wide-open threes, but he only got one of those a night. He only made 36% of his pull-up threes, but that's because most of them were so heavily guarded. According to the B-Ball Index, KD ranked in the 0.4th percentile in three-point openness rating, as well as the 6th percentile in three-point shot quality. It is insane that Durant hit 41% of his threes last year, considering the types of looks he was having to take. And while some of that just comes down to how much attention defenses are always going to pay him, having Tyus Jones and Monte Morris there to orchestrate and feed the big three in their spots should hopefully help.
He scores the ball at a high level, and sometimes he makes it look effortless. So he's getting to his spots, catching and shooting, but at the same time, that is, a product. Something that's a product of the system, and why me and Tay were brought here is to make sure that him, Book, and Brad can get easy shots and not have to work quite as hard.
It's one of the great, things about this job is trying to find all those guys, put them in their best spots. And, Kevin's so good, and can we make it easier on him? And, hopefully by moving him and moving everybody and making everybody live and, just kind of playing basketball is what we're leaning into right now the most. And I think he's been great with that. So, we feel fortunate that he is going to be able to make tough shots, and sometimes you need guys that can do that.
One way to help there is getting Durant looks at the rim more often. The Suns will have great spacing around him, and KD is still more than capable of crossing defenders up, blowing right past them, or whipping out one of his many moves off the dribble to get into the paint and use his length to create separation. According to Cleaning the Glass, Durant shot 77% at the rim last year, which placed him in the 90th percentile at his position. A lot of times, defenders just conceded a dunk because they didn't want to challenge him at the apex, and his backdoor cuts will be a useful tool with passing bigs like Jusuf Nurkic, Mason Plumlee, and Oso Ighodaro. Unfortunately, Durant only took 18% of his shots at the rim, which ranked in the 4th percentile at his position. That's just not enough for a guy who's deadly efficient around the basket. Getting him going in transition could help on that front. We already covered Tyus Jones' hit-aheads in our last season preview, but the Suns were the NBA's best team in points per possession in transition last year, and Durant was a big part of that, ranking in the 91st percentile among all players in points per possession on the break. Even at age 36, Durant can still throw down electrifying dunks, even over rim protectors in the paint. Getting KD more easy ones around the basket would help create an even more dangerous shot profile for one of the game's most unguardable scorers. And as much as KD stands objected to seeing Durant stand around in the corner, getting him open corner threes does help. KD made a whopping 47% of his corner threes last year, and his 68 attempts from the corners were by far a career high. For reference, the most he had ever taken in a season before last year was 40. Relegating KD to the corner and not involving him is one thing, but Budenholzer's offense is predicated on playing random, which means putting different guys in different actions. And if the end result is KD getting some easy, open threes from the corner because of all the spacing out there, that should be seen as a good thing. Of course, one thing that would also help is cutting down on turnovers. Adding actual point guards with elite assist-to-turnover ratios will go a long way, but Durant has to be better about ball security this year. His 244 turnovers last year led the Suns by more than 60, and he accounted for 21% of the team's player turnovers. Durant's 94 lost ball turnovers were second in the league behind only Domantas Sabonis, and it just seemed like there were a surprisingly high number of times where he inexplicably lost the ball or lost his balance, leading to a turnover for the team. Durant could also be a little bit better about handling blitzes and double teams. Turnovers are going to happen in those scenarios, and Durant gets more attention in that way than anyone on this team. But some of these errors feel avoidable if he's able to get off the ball quicker, handle the pressure better, or just make a more precise pass. Only 6 players in the NBA committed more turnovers than Kevin Durant last year, and 5 of those had a higher usage rate. Durant has averaged about 3 turnovers a night for his career, but getting it down to 2 or 2.5 would go a long way in fixing last year's turnover woes. A lot of this feels like nitpicking, and it probably is. Kevin Durant is still one of the most efficient scorers in the game and one of the most lethal all-around players, and we didn't even talk at all in this season preview about how he was Phoenix's best defender last year. But even in year 18, KD remains as hungry as ever, and part of that is continuing to look for ways to improve each and every day. If he can make some of these slight tweaks to his game, he could be set up for one of the easiest, most efficient seasons of his career, especially since his coaches and teammates all say the man hasn't lost a step.
KD is obviously somebody that, I've watched closely going into, 18? 18 for him, 19?
You said it's year 18 for him?
He's at the stage of his career where he's played 15 plus NBA years, And everyone wants to ask that question, and he continues to show people day in and day out, year after year, why he's one of the greatest scorers of all time and why he'll go down as one of, if not the greatest scorer of all time.
There's so many things that are just, so impressive about Kevin.
That guy's good at basketball. He's nice. When he gets to that midi, there's not really much that can be done.
Sometimes when you play against the guy, you just wonder, is he just hitting those shots tonight? And, from preseason pickup as much as training camp, it's like he hits them all the time.
To see what he's doing out here in training camp, I think leading with his effort, leading with his competitiveness.
Every single rep he takes, it's 100%.
He doesn't take drills off. He's the first one in line.
That's why he's one of the greatest ever.
Been doing it a long time, and I don't see any drop off, which is the impressive, kind of crazy part.
It's kind of the stuff you want from your best players.
One of the best players to ever play, still playing at an extremely high level.
He's just a hooper. I think his love for the game is what keeps him going.
Loves the game more than anything. He's totally dedicated. He's a Hall of Famer because he puts in the work and he prepares and he wants to be great.
Thanks for watching today's Suns season preview. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to PHNX Sports on YouTube, listen to the PHNX Suns podcast 5 days a week, go read my written previews over at gophnx.com, and check back here tomorrow for our next Suns season preview on Bradley Beal.